Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another StarCraft 2 cast with me, the Strict StarCraft, and today we have another Archon game, which I am pretty excited about because Archon games are just so good. Anyway, spawning down here in the bottom left as our red Terran player, I can't actually tell their full name, so it's Star, I guess. And their opponents are blue Protoss Archon, BPGB and Guy O. Yes! I think it's going to be blue Archon or like blue Protoss and red Archon or red Terran. That would be a lot easier for me. But from what I've heard, this was a pretty intense game. What was that? Pretty intense game. And I think they are diamond players. At least some of them are. So this is going to be a high level Archon match, which I am pretty excited about. We have a Nexus first coming in here on the Ruins of Seras. Of course, this is one of the bigger maps out there, and personally, I'm not a huge fan of it. I think most of the maps... Okay, this is just my biased perspective. I play random, by the way. But from my point of view, I think the current map pool is kind of Terran favored. It's very easy to drop everywhere and be kind of dropping the third base, going into the main base. For example, drop here, load up, drop here, unload, la la la, etc, etc. So it's very easy to drop nowadays with Terran, but I like that. I like that type of style when I play Terran. I don't like to face it as Zerg or Protoss, for example. But anyway, Tess and the Star going here for the Reactor Marine opener. Looks like they delayed their command center by quite a bit compared to the Protoss Archon, but it's not a huge deal. They're both getting macro build orders going. And this first Marine here is, I guess, to pick off any scouting probes. I don't really know why they would opt to go for the Marine. I love to get the Reapers out myself, but they're kind of weak against Adepts and the early Pylon overcharge. So if anyone's rushing for Adepts or Mudship Core rushes or anything, the Reapers aren't going to do a whole lot because they don't have a lot of HP, but neither of course do the Marines. Anyway, probes coming in here to scout, and I think Tess and Star, nope, they're not reacting. Just kidding. Instead, they're going to be dropping down a factory here, which is kind of early, and there's the second gas. But you don't really need a whole lot of gas as Terran if you're going to play Bio. However, the probe gets killed. However, if you want to play mech, of course you're going to need a lot of gas, and the second gas timing, I'm not really sure on what the standard timings are for Legacy of the Void if you want to go mech, but I think this is kind of early still, so starport coming in immediately and a Widowmine is going to be produced, so perhaps we're going to see Widowmine drops coming in soon. For our blue Archon though, a robotics facility is coming in, so it looks like they're going to have observers in time if this Widowmine drop does happen. Income now is 34 harvesters to 24. Of course, our Protoss Archon has been able to chrono out a lot of probes since they got their Nexus up very quickly. But as we all know, Terran players don't really need as many harvesters as Protoss and Zerg because they have mules. But they go for a really early third refinery here, which is kind of peculiar, I think. I want to see a couple of more factories come down if they do want to go for... Since they're going for this third refinery, I expect them to go for mech, but since they're going for the engine bay, it feels like they want to get upgrades for the infantry or something similar. There's a tank and there's a Viking coming in, so perhaps we're going to see mech after all. Of course, it's going to take them a while to really ramp up their production. They need quite a bit more income before they can do that. And our blue Archon is going for the robotics bay here, and this tells me they want to use disruptors a whole lot, but disruptors aren't the best against mech. They're going to be very difficult to use against mass tank, etc. But if the tanks do clump up, of course the disruptors can deal a significant amount of damage. Now some light adept harass coming in here as well, going to be denying mining for a couple of seconds. Nothing too massive at all, but the Marines are... Nope, they're not going to clean it up. The Shade went out, but the Widowmine gets the kill in the end, so... The Adept has been cleaned up, but the Protoss players did get some scouting and they did deny some sort of mining. The usual, like, usually people divide the different tasks in like you macro and I macro. And I think that's how the Protoss players are doing it here as well, and probably the Terran players as well. It's really difficult to share the macro and share the micro. So usually one's like, okay, you do macro, I do macro, and then it all work out in the end. But I don't know what Tess and Star are up to here really. Our Red Archon, they're going for high-sec auto-tracking, which is not very standard at all in any build. Like high-sec auto-tracking we see very rarely, but okay, they're going for it, and I don't know what it's going to be used for. It only really benefits the turrets in this stage. The turrets are here, but they're not going to be able to do anything because there aren't any Stargate units out. Anyway, a third base coming up from Protoss Archon here, as they do feel kind of confident. They have scouted a majority of what's going on with this observer. What they've seen is a factory, a starport, and a barracks, and not a whole lot more because there isn't any more production for our Red Terran Archon. But on the back of this, the Protoss Archon is getting a War Prism up right now. They're working on double upgrades, and it's all looking like they've set themselves up really nicely here. I really like the position for the Protoss Archon. Expanding before your Terran opponent feels really good, and they're pretty far ahead in the supply as well. Armor supply, they're far ahead. Work supply, they are decently far ahead there as well. But now, mech, full-on mech, come on. Show me what you're going to do. They're getting a Banshee and a tank still, but I haven't really seen any dedication to any particular type of style. I guess these turrets kind of tell me they're going for mech still. Of course, the mech army is very slow, so what you do need is a whole lot of turrets to prevent any War Prism micro and War Prism harass rather. So you can't really move your army, so it's really important to get a lot of map control. No, not map control really, just base control with these turrets. But the War Prism may still find a way in, as it can go around the back here, sort of, and fly right past. There's quite a lot of airspace here on Ruins of Seras, so the turrets may not be in good enough positions yet. Now, what is this called? Resonating Glaives. It increases the attack speed of Adepts by 45%. I wouldn't really recommend getting Adepts against a mech composition, but it looks like it's going to be some sort of marine tank, perhaps. As I said, we haven't really seen any. There is the dedication to mech, yes. More factories are coming in right now, so it's going to be full on mech here. Third base coming up from our Terran Archon, but still, look at the supply, it's 119 to 88. It looks like B, P, G, P, and Guy O something. Looks like they're having the macro and micro really worked out. I think they're friends, so they're probably communicating as well, which can really help in Archon mode. And fourth base, even just as the Terran gets up their third, the Protoss players decide to get up their own fourth, so that's really nice for them to really always stay ahead in the economy. But personally, I think it's pretty annoying to deal with mech if you don't get a whole lot of Immortals. Of course, Immortals just shred through everything basically, but the Banshees really complicate things since Immortals can't shoot up. So what you do need to get is still quite a lot of anti-air, either in Stalkers or High Templars. At least that was my go-to Heart of the Swarm composition. But it looks like the Protoss players are still producing a lot of Disruptors, even though they've scouted out everything. There was an Observer here before, so no, that's not the way I want to do it. There was an Observer here before, so as you can see, they've seen everything. They've seen the tanks and the Banshee and the Viking, so they know what composition they're up against. And I doubt Disruptors are going to work out that great for them. But of course, since they're far ahead in economy, they can afford to take cost-inefficient fights and still be sort of ahead. Now the War Prism coming in here, getting pushed back by this turret immediately. As I said, could possibly go behind here and try to drop here and let the Adepts go to town. Ooh, it looks like they're going to do that. Sick. And Colossus, now they're building Colossus instead. Not very good either, because Colossi, they're good against clumped up small units such as the Marines, not like tanks, etc. And tanks have even longer range than Colossus do, so. Oh, is the Viking gonna get a snipe on this War Prism? I think so, and there's no way for the red Protoss Archon to unload here. No. Looks like Tess and Star, though, are perhaps setting up for an engagement relatively soon, moving forward a couple of tanks. Or it's just to set up the fourth base, because this doesn't look like that big of an army if you compare it to the Protoss Death Ball here. A lot of adepts and stalkers are here. Is there any blink? Yes, blink is done, so that is going to be really helpful when fighting against a Terran sieged up army. Now it looks like the Shades move forward very, very quickly, and the Adepts are ready to fight. There was an observer here spotting the entire Terran move out, so the Protoss Archon definitely knew what they went into. Now Liberators are setting up, and this could be a really cool mech defense coming up. BPGB, got it. And Gaio, they're quite ahead in the armor supply, but usually mech armies trade really cost effectively, so even though they're ahead in armor supply, they may not necessarily win the upcoming fight. Income is still favoring our Protoss Archon, and as you can see, they're starting to bank up quite a few resources, and that is mainly because it's really difficult to spend 2k minerals a minute. What I'd like to see from them though is perhaps a couple more warp gates being dropped. How many are they up to? 7, yeah, definitely a couple more to go up to like 10 or 12 would be nice. They do have, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 bases up and running, waiting for the 5th base to finish right now. And it's in a nice tucked in position as well. Of course, siege tanks can be put up here and be super effective. I never really thought about that before. But the Terran Archon is looking for this 5th base, but I doubt they're going to find it really. It's a weird position to get a 5th base in, and I don't think they expect the Protoss Archon to have it up already. Ooh, but this is cute. A 5th base coming out of our Terran. No, this is the 4th, and this is the 5th coming up from our Terran Archon as well. So they want to stay even on economy. There are a couple more gateways coming down right now. Lovely to see. However, what I would like to see is a couple of Immortals as well. Not only are they super tanky, they deal a ton of damage to all the mech units. But now it looks like Tess and Star actually found this expansion, and they're going to town on the little probies here. Stalker is being warped in, but how many Harvesters do the Protoss players have? They have 81. So it's not like they need to keep all of these alive, really. They have enough by a lot. Like, I would suggest maximum 70 when you're on 5 bases, since in Lakes of the Void you mine out so quickly. You're usually not going to need, for example, they could like transfer all these guys over, transfer these guys. Yeah, that could be it. Like, that's enough for saturating a 5th for now. Now it looks like our Protoss Archon is moving out, and in the armor supply things have now evened out. Ooh, a disruptor shot right here. Could be super juicy, but I doubt the Protoss Archon knows about that. Oh, they have found this 5th base, which is kind of nice, but unfortunately it turns into a planetary, which means that you can't really warp in like 6 or 7 zealots to try to harass. The planetary with repairs are going to fend those off easily. Oh, there are no upgrades on these mech units whatsoever. +1 just finished, which means they are super far behind in the upgrades. This is a 3-3 Protoss army. It's going to, well, if they just move into a tank line, things are not going to turn out great for the Protoss Archon. With some nice disruptor shots, perhaps picking up the siege tanks from afar, I think they could take this engagement. But the Liberator's setting up down, up here rather, while the Protoss army is moving down here. And this could be really unfortunate for Tessa Star if the Protoss player moves in right now. Come on, Archon. Archon, no. They don't quite know where to go, because engaging a mech army isn't that easy. And as you can see, as soon as these stalkers move in without blinking on top of the tanks, they die super quickly. Dark Shrine coming in on the back of this though, and as you can see, both Archons are starting to accumulate a lot of resources. Not only minerals, but also a lot of gas, like 4k right now for the Protoss Archon, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. They're really high on supply. And the strength in Protoss in late game relies on reinforcing and remaxing very quickly, which can be done with a lot of resources and a lot of warp gates. And it looks like they got all of that secured, like 15 warp gates. Imagine warping in like a zealot from every warp gate. That's 30 supply instantly. Wait 30 more seconds and have another warp in ready. So that's 60 supply in like in like 30 seconds, which is quite a lot. And I am a bit sick, so that's probably why I sound a bit nasal when I'm talking. It's a bit annoying, but the passion is overwhelming. And our Protoss Archon is trying to maneuver over here, but unfortunately the Red Archon is already in position, and they've got a lot of mines, by the way. That's 10 mines right here, but if they don't burrow, they're not going to do anything. So the Colossus are starting to deal some damage, but the tanks are now sieged up, going to be dealing a lot of damage to these clumped up adepts, and now Widow Mines in position as well. What they could just do right now, the Blue Archon, is as soon as the scan fades out, just move, get out of here. Do they have an observer with this army, by the way? Units, observers. Yeah, they do. There it is. So they can pick away at these Banshees, but Banshees are just so annoying. Even though you have a detection, they're really difficult to pick off because they're always trading cost effectively against Stalkers, unless you have a critical amount of them. That's why I really like to get Storm, because Banshees tend to clump up and you can feed back them as well. So High Templars are very effective against Banshees. Still very few upgrades on this Terran mech army. Ooh, could blink on top of the tanks, but no, not quite ready. Disruptor shots goes off on all of those mines, cleaning up so many of them. That was really nice for our Blue Archon, but still the Liberators are giving chase, and the tanks in the back are, of course, as usual, trading very effectively. The Liberators try to siege up, they get picked off by the Stalkers. But now, as you can see, these Colossi haven't really done too much. 3 kills and 2 kills separately, and they're really expensive units. That's why I like this tech switch into Immortals and this massive tech switch into Stargate. What you need to watch out for though is the splash damage from the Liberators. Nice blink though, coming up on top of the tanks right here. Could pick off the Liberators as well with the Stalkers, even though they do deal a lot of damage very quickly. And now the Banshees here clean up everything. No observers in position, so they need to run. Need to hide. Where are the observers? Units. We have one over here, one over here. No one with this army currently. Another one is popping right now, and there it is, joining in. Banshees. Yeah, there we go. The Banshees are finally going to be killed off. So good night, goodbye, Banshees. Oh, Templar, Storm. They don't have Storm, unfortunately, but they're finally researching it. So, looks like they finally listened. God, right? Now, both players, both Archons rather, have kind of stabilized. There isn't a whole lot of damage going on right now. And they're both starting to just rebuild their army that they lost. But the Blue Archon is moving forward here very aggressively. But of course, as usual, mech armies have a lot of units just ready everywhere. A tank's in position over here, and all of a sudden the entire Terran army has moved over here. It's really difficult to hit multiple sides of a Terran mech army, just because they have units spread out evenly across all bases. How many command centers do they have? They have 3 planetaries, 2 command center, and 7 orbital commands. That's a hefty amount of bases for sure. And that's why it's really easy to mine out quickly as a Terran mech. You don't really need that many SCVs. You can just drop a ton of mules. But unfortunately for them, they're really high on harvesters, and I don't particularly like that. Like 50 is enough by a lot if you want to play mech, and if you're up to that many orbitals, you can just drop a ton of mules. Nice disruptor shots, not quite able to kill off the tanks. Ooh, and the Widow Mines cleaning up a couple of disruptors with that shot. Oh, juicy shot once more. But as you can see, the tanks here, they don't quite die from one Liberator shots, and they can just be repaired. So still a very close game here. I definitely gave the early game advantage to the Protoss Archon, but since it's so difficult to engage into a Terran army, things have kind of evened out eventually. And upgrades, still really bad upgrades for our Terran Archon in the mech department. What is that? That's the Liberator. Yeah, that's the Liberator range. It just looks kind of weird, the upgrade. Blinking on top of the tanks here, really nice, but still losing a lot of Stalkers, and the Widow Mines as well, cleaning everything up. And this is why tank lines are so strong. You think you're going to break through because you kill off the first initial tanks, and then there are like so many waiting in the back. Storm. Just try to push these Banshees back. No storms are coming down. He's just wasting all of the High Templars here. You kind of see where the Banshees are, so he could have just stormed there. But at the same time, they have still a lot of resources, so it's not a huge deal. Now, Tempests are making their way out on the map. And why could Tempest be good in this position? Well, First of all, they can pick off tanks from afar, and secondly, they don't take a whole lot of splash damage from the Liberator air attack. So our Terran Archon is going to have to tech switch into a lot of Vikings very soon. But unfortunately for them, they're maxed out, so they can't really do a whole lot of tech switching. So they're going to have to deal with 4 Tempests without building Vikings. How many Vikings do they have, by the way? They're up to 0 Vikings in total, so this could be very tricky for our Terran Archon unless they start producing a lot of Vikings. They are making 4 starports though. Where are they? Here they are. So 4 more starports are coming in, which are going to allow for a lot of Vikings to be produced. This is so annoying to deal with for our Protoss Archon. I can just feel the anger. Dealing with mech is so not easy. Like planetary setup over here, and there's tanks up here. They can't really move anywhere. Now the Liberator count, it looks like it's high enough in the end to clean up the Tempest, or at least push them back for now. But as you can see, the air damage is designed to deal a lot of splash damage, not necessarily single target damage. But since there's so many of them, it looks like it may be enough. Nothing coming out in... they shouldn't be sharing control here. It looks like they're messing up control slightly. One of them should definitely be macroing. They're not building anything right now. We're not dropping far behind in supply. So they need to divide their tasks a lot better, I think. There we go. 4 Tempests now being produced all of a sudden. So that's very good for them. And now 6 Vikings at a time being produced. This is exactly what the Terran Archon needs. They just need to make sure not to overproduce them, because all of a sudden our Protoss Archon can tech switch and move back from Tempest into this standard like Gateway Immortal army, which Vikings aren't that good at dealing with. Vikings on the ground are super not effective, so that could be a thing as well if they just make too many of them. And with 5 coming in at a time, for now it's a very good choice, since the Tempest count is constantly increasing. But now, how many bases are they up to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bases. This is something we very rarely saw in Heart of the Storm, so this is kind of cool to see. But now, with 8 bases up and running for our Protoss player and our Terran player, I think that's 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bases in total from the Terran Archon. They're going to be mining out this map very, very quickly, but fortunately we are on a big 4-player map, so of course they can be mining for a long time before it's all out mined. Archons now coming in as well from our blue Protoss Archon, and I like the decision of going for Archons. They're never really bad. They have a lot of HP, not HP but shields. They can tank a whole lot. They deal a decent amount of damage, but I wouldn't say they're the perfect counter to mech. But since they do have an anti-air attack and a ground attack, they're pretty darn good against everything basically. You can get Archons in PvC, in PvP, and PvT, so they're always good basically. Now Tessa's Star, where's their entire army? It looks like a lot of it is split up across these bases. Of course they have 9 bases to defend, but a lot of it isn't actually at home to defend any sort of production facilities. There are a lot of Vikings, but with the blue Archon pushing out here with such a massive force all combined, it's going to be difficult for Tess and Star to defend here. Planetary is taking a bit of fire here from the Tempest, and they need to get on that repair train. There we go, repairing up the Planetary now. And now 10 Vikings coming in. That's a lot of Vikings. But there isn't a whole lot of anti-air from the Protoss, so I guess they can kind of work out against the Tempest. Ooh, but now the mech army is moving in, and the tanks are sieging up here right on the ramp. Archon's getting cleaned up very, very quickly, but it looks like the Viking count isn't quite enough. They're decently upgraded with +3 armor and +1 attack, but almost very similar upgrades, at least for the Protoss players as well. So Tempests are super, super good, so they do clean that up in the end since they have so much HP. Now the Planetary has run low on SCVs, but now the reinforcing Vikings are here, but so are the reinforcing Tempests. It's an air battle, and it looks like the Tempests are going to be taking this one, but now the turrets have finished up as well on the low ground. And that is going to be enough to kill off these Tempests completely. And I would like to see a tech switch now from the Protoss Archon. That would be terrific. So it's like Mass Charge Loud Immortal Archon. It's a composition I love a whole lot. Since the Viking count is so high, I don't think massing up Tempest is going to be the answer. Storm! They're so clumped up. Oh, yes. Storm! That dealt a whole lot of damage. And they have one more Storm. Ooh, lovely. Cleaning up like 5 Vikings with 1 Storm. And here is the Mass Charge Love Warframe. No, it's Adepts, but still, it's pretty sick. Looked almost like the cinematic right there. Now the Tempests that were still produced are going to be pushing back these tanks, and now the 19 or whatever it is. Yeah, it's 19 Adepts warping in. The 19 Adept warping is done. And Adepts are just really good units, especially when they're this upgraded. They have an armor of 4, and they're quite tanky with 150 HP. But I doubt it's going to be enough to take on this planetary, but we'll see. If no repairs are coming down, then the Adepts can clean it up. Looks like they decide not to go for it though, as the Terran players are on top of that with the repairs. But the important thing right now for our Protoss Archon is to deny the Terran mining. The battlecruiser switch is en route here, so denying any mining and really taking away a lot of their resources is going to be what can win them the game. But Widow Mines getting a lot of juicy shots off, and where are they at? There they are. That's where the shades went. So really nice usage here of the Adept Shade, going to split them up. A couple going down the south, while the others stay up there trying to pick off any sort of mining up to the top. And how many orbitals are we up to right now? 7 orbitals still, so they can drop a whole lot of mules and scan basically as much as they want. More battle cruisers now coming in, so looks like there are infinite resources on this map almost. Just a whole lot of mining constantly taking place, and I still have no idea who's going to win this. Look at the supply, it's 189 to 199, so it's super close. And looks like our Terran Archon has started mining from this bottom expansion as well. I'm curious who has been the most cost effective. It's actually really close in units lost. The mech army is a bit more effective, but it's not by a whole lot. Adepts now getting into the production, and this can be very nice for the Protoss Archon. I would not recommend taking down a orbital here. Just focus on cleaning up as much production as possible. With the mines though, oh my god, they are so effective. Almost killing off all of those Adepts. But that's really nice usage of the Shades, trying to get into the production of the Terran player. Since they are maxed out, they can't really produce a whole lot to fend it off with, so they're gonna have to pull back a lot of army if they want to clean that one up. Oh, battlecruiser Yamato cannoning almost down one of these Tempests, but now a lot of Vikings are reinforcing, but the Viking count isn't high enough at all, I don't think. But there's very little support on the ground here from the Protoss, and now the Widow Mines coming in as well, cleaning up a lot of these Tempests. And looks like our Protoss Archon is falling behind quickly in supply. I don't think Tempests are the right choice here. The Vikings still clean them up very effectively. Now they're pulling back to defend. There's one Nexus here at the 3rd base, and Tempests of course are really good against battlecruisers. They deal 48 damage to massive air units, the battlecruisers for example, so they're very effective at that. But the Vikings that are not massive are going to be having a much better time against these Tempests. And looks like they're all going to be dying now. I mean, if the Vikings give chase, they can't really run these Tempests. But a nice warping of Stalkers here, going to be keeping those alive. And still, I don't know who is going to be winning this. I'm looking to see if the Protoss players are going for some sort of counterattack on the map. Looks like a few Stalkers are moving out here, and this is when Archon mode, when splitting up different tasks, can be really effective. One can focus entirely on the Stalkers, while the other one tries to defend at home. And they're doing a nice job of it so far. But with these tanks back here, going for Stalkers can be really difficult if they want to engage into the Vikings here. But now the Vikings looks like they're moving slightly too far forward, and 4 or 5 of them do fall to the Stalkers and Tempest. A couple of them landing as well, which is not a good choice if you want to deal with Tempest. Now they're splitting up. Vikings are not very strong when they're not like together, fighting all at once, so landing a couple of Vikings there, definitely a mistake. still a lot of resources for our Protoss player, but not necessarily for the Terran Archon. And this may be their downfall. They're dropping slightly in supply, and in armor supply they are still far ahead. But work supply is 109 probes. Oh my god, that is way too many probes. 66 is a whole lot better. But therefore our Terran Archon is going to be ahead in armor supply. So even though they're dropping slightly in supply and in mineral income, looks like they're still in a decent position as far as army goes. Oh my god, my nose. So difficult casting with a clogged up nose. Either way, 4 Liberators coming in now as well. Looks like they're starting to build those once more. But the Vikings have done a great job of cleaning up all the air of the Protoss army. And this is not enough Tempests at all. I mean, Tess and Star could definitely engage into those Tempests right now. A couple of High Templars making the way past this planetary, and they're going to be denying all of this mining since they can't drop a couple of storms down there. Now the Vikings, as I said, the Tempest count is not high enough to clean this one up. Widow Mines on the ground as well, dealing a ton of damage. Disruptors, nice usage. But the Vikings are just cleaning up all of these Tempests. The thing is, they're lacking any sort of ground reinforcements right now. So a couple of Vikings and Liberators do fall to these Stalkers down here. Now supply is 162 to 161, so it's really close still. And I have no idea who's going to win this. We're past the 30-minute mark right now, and there's a feedback coming down on the battlecruiser. And Vikings lander over here at the gold base as well, really denying all of the mining that is left for the Protoss Archon. They're still mining sort of up here. Up here, they're starting to run out of mineral patches, down here as well. So they're about to mine out this entire map, all of these players. And if you go back to the minerals, the Terran Archon has started to really accumulate a lot of minerals this time as well. Oh, and they need to take cost-effective fights now, the Protoss do, since they're, as I said, basically mining out this entire map. They can't afford to take bad engagements anymore. Storms coming down on top of the Vikings and the tanks. And that's really cost-effective, of course. Trading energy for HP is always worth it, basically. Now a lot of pings are coming down as this mech army moves in. They're not quite sieged up though, so the storms coming in from the top and the Starks as well could blink on top of the mech army, and there we go. It looks like the Starks are going to be cleaning everything up. But PDD here coming in from the Ravens, very effective at denying the Starks from dealing any damage. A bit of splash damage from the friendly tanks though, and that's going to be all she wrote for this Terran push. There's one tank here trying to deal some damage, but no, it dies in the end. Now, like, a ton of Stalkers still being warped in somewhere. Here they are. Like, how many is that? 22 being warped in right now. And now, once more, the Terran Archon is dropping slightly in supply. 175 to 144. So, of course, the Protoss army has a lot easier of a time to reinforce very quickly and reproduce very quickly. They don't have to wait for their production facilities to create units. They can just W and, like, warp in a ton of Stalkers. With those warp gates. Blinking on top of the Terran army here can be really effective. Going for this base instead. I would have liked to see them pick off at this army. Storm! Oh yes, so juicy shots coming off on these Hellbats. Tanks are sieged up this time though, so it's going to be a lot more difficult for the Stalkers to engage. The base does die in the end, so really nice pickup here for our blue Archon. Once more trying to engage, but those tanks just push everything back. They are at full upgrades finally. They've been for quite some time, but if you recall earlier, they were far behind in the upgrades. But somehow, someway, Tess and Star are still able to produce a lot of units. They're starving in gas though, so all they can produce is basically these Hellbats, which only cost minerals. But Hellbats really aren't the best against Stalker heavy compositions, since they need to get on top of the units to deal damage, and Stalkers have long range and they have blink, so really difficult for these Hellbats to do anything of value here. Tempest moving in as well, and I can tell you Hellbats aren't the best against Tempest either. So now the tanks being left alone, the Stalkers could blink on top of them, but they need to be careful not blinking on top of the Hellbats, of course. But there we go, forward aggressive blink right now. Tanks trying to focus them all down, sieging up right now. But the Stalkers are already cleaning up all of the tanks, even though they're taking some losses against the Hellbats. Hellbats really aren't the best against Stalkers. Now some harassment coming up to the top here as well, and no repairs coming in. They need to repair immediately, and no repairs. Oh, that was so close. So the Zealot counterattack actually able to kill off a very, very important planetary. That was a lot of the Terran mining. Income now is 1700 to 500, so looks like our Protoss Archon is finally eking out a small lead here, even though there's still a lot of army left here for our Terran Archon. They're far ahead in the armor supply, but the fact that they're not mining could be their death. They really need to make something happen here with the army that they've got. But as I said, they're stuck on this like Hellbat Hellion composition since they don't have any gas, and that's really not the best in the whole world. But a lot of damage being taken on these Stalkers as they try to blink through that army. Not the best idea. They tried to focus down a couple of Vikings, but they did just take a whole lot of losses instead. Now Stalkers, more and more of them being warped in, and it looks like the Protoss have quite a lot of resources to spare, so they can definitely afford to take a couple of losses here and there. But still, armor supply heavily favoring the Terran Archon, and if they just make something happen here with this push, this may just be the end of the Protoss army. And since they're just reinforcing a whole lot, though, I doubt that's going to happen. Just reinforcing very, very quickly with more and more Stalkers, so it's going to be very, very difficult for Tess and Star to eventually push through. But more and more minds, I really like this decision. They're super effective against clumped up Stalkers. So, ooh, a lovely Banshee counterattack coming in. That is so annoying to deal with. There's basically no way for our Protoss Archon to clean that one up. They need like 8, 9 cannons here, and they don't even have detection over there, so it's going to be super difficult. Stalkers once again trying to move in on the tanks. I would not recommend doing this all game long, since it's pretty cost effective. And oh my god, he lost like 20 Stalkers to a couple of mines. And look at this, no way to deal with the Banshee counterattack. In the end, it's all going down up there. And now supply-wise, looks like our... I don't want to disable sound. Looks like our Terran Archon here are dropping quickly in armor supply. They are still ahead by quite a lot, but they were further ahead before. They're still very starved on gas, even though they're producing like 3 tanks at a time. But yeah, compared to our Protoss Archon, they're really low on resources. I want to look at the APM, by the way. Average is 170 and 146. I think that's combined. I honestly don't know if it's combined. That means they're averaging like 85 each, which is kind of alright in an Archon mode match. The Nexus does fall here, and that's basically all these players are doing, just trying to deny as much mining right now. Tempest moving in once more as the Stalkers are going for this gold expansion down here. Can the mines get on top of the Stalkers? That's basically all that matters right now. They really can't get into good enough of a position, as the kiting was very nice from these Stalkers. Tess and Star now far ahead in the overall supply, and that's basically because they've killed off so many probes. Do you remember the... I think the probe count was like 119 or 109 or something. Now it's down to 33 for both Archons, so the Protoss players have lost a lot of probes. It's still just making so many Stalkers. I don't know what the optimal counter is to like Widow Mine tank, but I don't think it is Stalkers. I feel like they need Immortals or something, but at the same time they need to be able to dodge those Widow Mine shots, and Immortals really aren't going to be able to do that. Widow Mine's almost able to kill off a Tempest. 100 supply to 94 right now. It's still a very even game, as if the Terran Archon is mining from this base. I don't know if they're out of it just yet. I mean, they were so far behind in the economy before, but now they're managing to tie it all up, and our Protoss Archon is barely mining at this point. They're mining from this base. That's pretty much it. The bases up here have been cleaned up by the Banshees. But now, with since they're moving in right now, cleaning up this one singular mining base from the Terran, this is looking very nice for our Protoss Archon. But the Banshees coming in and cleaning up the singular mineral line that is left. The Stalkers are moving back, they're ready to clean this one up, but the probes are already dying. 21 probes are remaining in this game, and that's kind of enough to saturate just one base, so shouldn't be a problem. But the Banshee with those boosters, we rarely see those nowadays, boosting straight into cannons, and it's going to die. And that's basically the only counterattack potential that these guys have had in the Terran Archon. And I think this is the fight. No, they're mining from here. From here. No more mining is taking place though. Still a very close game. I don't get how this works. But armor supply is super close. As usual, the Terran Archon is slightly ahead in the armor supply, as they've been for a very, very long time. And now it's been 40 minutes. Jesus. Oh, and the single disruptor. Can he get the fire off? No, that would be sick, but not quite able to. Hellions running into the gold mineral line here in the probes. Oh my god, they were so clumped up. But nice bleeding here from the Protoss Archon. But they can still lose quite a lot of them. Yes. A lot of probes did fall, and the harvest count is now 11. Still enough to saturate one gold base, I'd say. Since gold mineral patches just gives you a whole lot of minerals. But 6 probes at a time being produced as well, so looks like the Protoss players aren't quite satisfied with their probe count. How is this game going to end? There are so many planetaries up here. It's going to be difficult for the Protoss Archon to kill everything off, I think. Hellions! Ooh, all dead. And now Stalkers moving in to the top, cleaning up what's left of this mining base. Should really be going for this one. It's an orbital command for some reason, so it's going to be really easy to clean up. But I doubt they know it's there. Yeah, they do know it's there, so I definitely suggest going for that. Now the Protoss players blinking on top of these Hellions. As I mentioned, Hellions aren't that great at dealing with Stalkers. And as far as army goes for the Terran player, they don't really have a whole lot of anti-ground. They have 3 tanks and a lot of Hellions and Hellbats. Widowmine count has been reduced heavily, so I don't know if the Terran players can deal with this Stalker force right now. They probably can if they land the Vikings and set up the Liberators nicely. But the aggressive blink on top of these tanks, they're taking a lot of damage from the Hellbats and Hellions, but it's going to be enough Stalkers, I think, to clean up the ground force here of the Terran Archon. But the Vikings cleaning up all the Tempests, and if the Vikings land and they reinforce with a couple more Hellions and tanks, which are being produced right now, I don't know, man. I don't know what's happening anymore. Arm supply is still heavily favoring our Terran player, but as I said, a lot of it is in the Vikings, so it could still work out for these Stalkers here on the ground. Any more units reinforcing? Yes, a couple more Stalkers being warped in. Still a lot of minerals left for the Protoss Archon, so if need be, they can warp in like 60 Zealots and just, yay, move and win, I think. Nice Liberator positioning here, by the way. Setting up straight in this choke, but from the back, Stalkers and Disruptors coming in. This could be a sick Disruptor shot right on top of these Vikings. Oh, are they go? Are they going for it? Yes, but the Widow Mines, I want to see the Disruptor killing off all of these mines now. Not quite going to do it, are they? There's a ping. There's a ping. Disruptor? No, no shot. These Stalkers are being pushed back by something. I don't really know why Flying Vikings are pushing back these Stalkers, but oh my god, this is so intense. Armor supply 79 to 113. Widow Mines and Hellions now moving forward, accompanied by the Vikings. Disruptor shots. Disruptor shot. Come on, there it is. And the Hellions are clumped up. Oh, so much damage from this one Disruptor. 6 kills. I think that's 6 Hellion kills. That's 600 minerals for that one Disruptor shot. Now the Hellions are giving chase to these Stalkers, which are very low in HP, since they do clump up a whole lot. They take a lot of splash damage from these Hellions. But the Hellions are pretty low themselves. They did take a lot of damage from that initial Disruptor shot. Now moving in on the gold base once more, the Terran player they cleaned that up like 7 times in this game, and it's still up and running. A 2-pronged attack though coming in from these Stalkers, and it looks like the Sandwich is going... No, they need to attack with all the Stalkers. But a lot of Widow Mines are here though, hiding in the bushes, and Stalkers are cleaning them up with the Observers, so not any shots coming up from those Stalkers. Where's the... God, they need to use their entire army. The Sandwich was perfect, and I think they could have cleaned that one up, but Terran players still here fighting for survival. But now more and more stocks, and finally a couple of zealots. I love zealots. Reinforcing this one. Zealots are so good, getting straight on top of the units, and when the Hellions are gone, they are very, very viable. Now the Vikings getting cleaned up. Wow, looks, we added a 0. Look at that, beautiful. The Vikings are all dead right now. Stalkers moving forward. Still 5.4k in the bank, rather, accompanied by not that much gas, but now 4 carriers in production. Holy bejesus. Looks like these Protoss players are not ready to give up just yet, and neither are the Terran players. Pushing forward here with a couple of more units, but a mule being dropped to repair, I guess, to repair the Thor. Not being used that effectively currently. Nice Stalker micro coming in here from the Protoss Archon. Should be just using Blink. There we go. Just kiting back and forth. Now with the Zealots and the Adepts reinforcing, they're going to be cleaning up this small Terran force with ease. But the Terrans are so low on not HP, on minerals rather. They're not mining anything. And the chasing Adepts here coming in. Oh, sick city. And they're cleaning up everything in the end. A couple of Hellions and Hellbats are still here. But it's not going to be enough for the Terran Archon right now. They're far behind in supply. It's 34 to 85. The Protoss Archon just pushing forward, but still a lot of Hellions here able to deal a lot of damage to these light Adepts. But still 3 Adepts are pretty tanky nonetheless. One Banshee here up top cleaning everything up. There's an Observer here, so it is going to get picked up in the end by these Stalkers. But still not quite enough. No one wants to give up. A huge force over here though. Looks like the Protoss Archon could have split up their units and controlled a bit better, but since this has been such an intense game, I doubt they like have even cared about that. Want to take this base apparently. A lot of pings going down, or they want to have a look and see if the Terrans have decided to take that base. Oh, with the mines. Nice shots. Armor supply right now 65 to 16. 16 armor supply isn't a whole lot. How many workers are there? No, that's the wrong tab. Work supply is 21 to 15, so no SCVs can be pulled either, and this isn't a pretty sight for the Terran Archon. Seeing 4 carriers move out, I really think that should be their cue to leave. Are those GG mules? The Manor mules? No GGs yet. Nothing in the production tab either. It's 2 supply. There's the GG. Finally, what an intense game that was. That was really a whole lot of attacking from the get-go. So, I'm sorry I'm a bit sick. Probably wasn't the best cast in the world. But I hope you all enjoyed nonetheless. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.